Still live on TV3, new day. Specifically, it's time for big issue here. And there's a lot to talk about today. We are going to start the conversation by paying much attention to the big story that has engaged the attention of the nation in the last couple of weeks, with various developments that keep getting people talking, mainly about where this is headed. Are the constitutional provisions being adhered to? Are there any concerns? Is there a state-sponsored agenda to get a CJ out, among other things? All those are issues that you've been talking about. Now, we know that the latest on the matter is that a fresh application has been filed at the Supreme Court asking that the court suspends the suspension of the Chief Justice. It's one that will be dealt with on the 6th of May when the court resumes hearing. We also know that a directive has come from the acting Chief Justice asking the courts, for that matter, to refer all newly filed cases to his office for the cases to be assigned to various judges. And this cuts across all the courts. And the directive says it overrides the earlier directive that had been issued by the previous Chief Justice. And already people are drawing some parallels. They are saying that, well, is this what the end game was, or is it just a case of new king, new law, or a way of ensuring that the system functions in a manner that instills confidence in those who participate in the process? All those are matters that would engage our attention. We also know that the Narcotic Control Commission have in the last few months been embarking on various operations. Various quantities of prohibited substances are being seized across the country. The latest one were substances that were just being sent out of the country through our airports. And it comes at a time that already you know the allegations that took place about 2 suspicious flights that had come into the country. But at every turn, we've seen the state agencies come directly out there and also put that information out. We'll try and look at that as well, just to put everything in perspective and ask the question of, is it a case that there's an increased attempt to try and move drugs out of the country or into the country, or is simply the case that state authorities and of security officials are being a bit more proactive in dealing with some of these matters? That would engage our attention this morning on the big issue here on New Day. And joining me for the discussion, our usual Friday team, with the exception of my very good friend who is not around today, Kwame Jantua, but every other person is here. Starting with Abraham Amaliba. He's a private legal practitioner. He's also a member of the National Democratic Congress and the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority. He joins us in the studio. AB, good to see you.
Good morning to you. Except to say that I want to appeal to the doctors in Tamale Teaching Hospital to not to pursue their strike agenda. Their work is so key to human life, such that I think that they should let this slide pass, because they are asking for an apology. And I don't think that they can equate human life to an apology. They can have their beef with the minister, but I think that the people, the indigents, need their services, and I'm appealing upon them to rethink their strike and return to the consulting rooms.
Let's see how that one goes. It's also another very interesting story that has been developing in the last couple of days. Joining us as well, Ebo Bachman, Movement for Change, financial and economic analyst as well. Ebo, good to see you once again. Your team is doing well, so you're always happy these days.
Of course, you know. Prof is no, Prof supports Real Madrid.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and we are taking the league, and the Champions League as well, and the Copa del Rey as well.
I think so. Copa del Rey will take it.
Oh, no, who will score? You know, Wednesday was my son's birthday.
Oh, okay.
And Nyansa's birthday, and you
should wish him. You should wish him.
TV3 did well to help me wish him happy birthday. And let me belatedly wish him happy birthday once again. And let me say that I like the way he's growing up. And I like the way he's also taking his studies seriously. Nyansa, may the Lord continue to guide your path, and may you become a special voice to your generation.
Amen. Amen. That's an interesting name, Nyansa.
But if you name a child Nyansa, what else do you expect?
I mean, in the spirit of birthdays, I want to also wish happy birthday to Charity Dorfo and Tina Dorfo. Charity Dorfo and Tina Dorfo. It's coming from your sister. It's not coming from me. You should relax. It is coming from me as well, but it's coming from their sister Fidelia Adolfo. Happy birthday to Charity and Tina Adolfo from your sister Fidelia Adolfo, and from myself as well. The producers can calm down now. Yes. Well, yeah. So I mean, Abi touched on the issue.
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Introduce yourself.
Let me. Okay. Let me introduce.
I like that as
Prof. The last time you remember, I christened him as a Reverend Minister. Yes. So Professor Reverend Opoku-Entry is a governance and policy analyst. Prof, it's always a pleasure to have you on the Friday segment of the show.
I had to prompt you before you introduced me. I think you are overexcited today.
I'm sorry.
That is what Abraham calls a premature ejaculation, right? So sometimes
you see, Prof,
you jump again.
Sometimes the conversation that is taking place at the back. So
I know. That's how the brain works. Yeah. Look at even us every time coming here to sit at the same place. That's simple habit.
Yeah, once you come
how we develop habit. You always go back to the same seat that you sat on.
But
I think that for the intro, before I say anything, let's greet all our listeners. We cherish them. My mom is always glued to the set, watching me, and I like the feedback she gives me after every interaction. I think there are two things before we start the show. The NACOC people, the security agencies, are doing a great job. If you look at the way they are busting syndicates, you ask two questions. Is it that in the previous times this was happening and nobody paid attention to it, or they were not caught? So I think that the government is doing well by busting this drug syndicate, because it spoils our children. I know the effect. If you come to US and see opium and cocaine, what it has done to some people. People go to jail and for this. And those who are addicted to it, when they cannot have access to it, they put their hand in their ears and then sometimes scream and making sure blood is coming out. Addiction is terrible. And we have to make sure that we stop this drug thing. It doesn't help anybody. The next thing I want to talk about is the doomsday thing. I think we should all, the Minister of Energy, everybody involved in this, should work on it. Recently, I felt it sleeping in the dark with mosquitoes, and that was terrible for me. Some of these things, we should work on it, because we've come a long way as a country. We supply energy to Benin, and there's no light up there. We supply them to other neighboring countries. They don't have light off. How come that we, the supplier, is having light off? So we should work on it and make sure that we have lights, because it's everything now, Without energy, we can't do AI, we can't use our computers, we need them to be efficient in whatever we do. So I urge the government to work hard in fixing our doomsday situation currently.
I mean, the issue of the Tamale Teaching Hospital that AB touched on, I wanted to pick your views. I'm sure you follow the story.
Yes.
I mean,
the
minister goes there and
he said, "I have doctor's friends."
The minister
he knows me a lot.
I see. The minister goes there and he. I mean, in fact, it's a tour that has been taking place in different parts of the country. He goes there, he asks a series of questions. There's a whole back and forth between him and a doctor. And then the doctors decide that, well, they are going on strike. I mean, I don't know first what you make of the minister's arrival there, what transpired, and the reactions.
I have seen a trend. The minister have gone to other hospitals unannounced, which is a good thing, because human behavior changes when they see that they are being observed. That is common in research. Even mosquitoes, once you see them and they see that you are chasing them, they get lost. Have you noticed that? Even roaches, cockroaches, once they see that you are trying to chase them, they get lost. They speed up. So that is nature of mammals, including us, that once they see that they are being observed, they change their behaviors. I think that the minister is doing well on that part of unannounced visits to see what is going on there. One thing I've observed all over the world is the front end. Any observer that I've seen from the international world will come to organization. You know where they go first? The bathroom. That's the front end. They can see a very nice building, everything, but if your bathroom does not reflect that you're doing well, whatever they see at the office, they don't care about it. So we should be beginning to think about the front end, what we do there. And the unannounced visit help a lot to put people on their toes when they are working, because life is seconds and then you lose it. We live life only once. But what I don't like about what the minister did, and we are all humans, see, our problem here is that we don't want to tell the truth. The way he spoke to the guy wasn't right. You go to somebody's workplace, they are doing their job, and the banter of exchanges wasn't right. The guy's response wasn't right. So the way they exchanged words wasn't right. And I think both of them should apologize to each other and be gentlemen. But if the hospital want to back their man there and go on strike, look at the life that we are going to lose. So let's bargain be bargain. You know, let's settle this. The minister talked, the guy talked back. In the advanced world, we can have the changes, we can even have serious arguments. And then the next day work as normal. Here is a different thing. People arguing and the next day they don't talk to each other. I don't know why. You have to be professional. So the minister should be professional, the guy should be professional, those working, the doctors and the nurses should also be professional and work to save lives, because that's what they swore to do first. The rest is the unguarded talks. And I think we should guard against that, that if we're a minister, it doesn't mean we have power, doesn't belong to us. It belongs to we the people. If we're a minister today, you are not the first to be a minister, you will not be the last. Somebody will come. Have you seen the trend of Mohammed's administration? Look at the trend of his administration since he came first time. Every 8 months, there's a reshuffle. So in October, you could use your job. If you're a minister now, watch it.
I mean, Ebo, do you share the same concerns that Prof makes? And I mean, a lot of the people have shared a part of the video where the minister asked the doctor that, I mean, when the ventilator was not working, what did you do? And that for many people are saying that it would be a miracle if the system was not aware of the challenges that the hospital were facing, such that the minister would have had to take him on in such a manner publicly.
I think the altercation could have been avoided. I mean, there was no need for what was done in front of the camera or cameras. I mean, some of these things, they could have gone to the office of the CEO to discuss it. You don't need to show to the public that this is what I've come to meet and all that. Yes, I like the unannounced visit bit. It is important we do that to know exactly what they are doing, because normally when they get to know that you are coming, they get prepared. So sometimes you need to catch them unawares. But the exchanges for me was needless. And the doctors too should also consider human lives. Yes, maybe you feel hurt, but you feeling hurt means somebody can die. And I don't think the two are equal or the two are the same. So they should reconsider their decision and sit together with the minister to resolve the issue. The minister should be humble enough to invite the medical doctors. Of course, you see, if somebody's service is, goes to help to save human life, then you should know that service is very important, because the human life is the ultimate. So I believe that they should be able to talk about these things. Next time, I want to believe that the minister himself has learned his lessons. Yes, you can go out there and do your job, but sometimes in front of people, in front of, you see, we all have our egos. And once you bruise mine, I would want to react. So I believe he's learned his lessons. He should be humble enough to invite her. But let me also say that I listened to, maybe he didn't do that with bad intentions, but whatever be the case, what he did wasn't good. He also spoke very well about the doctors and the role they are playing and the medical staff. But all in all, I believe that what is important in this equation is human life. And so the doctors and the minister should be able to sit down to resolve this issue.
In fact, we know that the statement from the doctors, they did indicate that they needed a number of medical equipment and other consumables, and we know that they have since supplied it. I mean, that is the most important aspect of it. Of course, the question remains as to why those materials, which clearly were already in the custody of the government, were not made available to the facility anyways. They had to take all this for it to happen. So
I work with one of the major health institutions, and my observation is the obsoleteness of most of these hospital tools. I think that it's high time we work on it. Most of the equipment are too old, and even the maintenance cost alone, outweighs the revenue that they are generating from them. So I'm urging the government that, in the 21st century, we can buy some of these things easy, and we should prioritize our health. Health and education, once you fix it, you have fixed almost 50% of your problems. Because if you don't have healthy people and if they are not educated, it becomes very difficult to train them for jobs and everything. So let's look at our obsolete, materials at the hospitals and tools, and then fix them, because they are very important in saving lives.
Let's zoom into our main discussion now, and I want to bring you some details from the latest application that has been filed at the Supreme Court by lawyers for the Otafo MP, Vincent Assefuwa, his legal team being led by the former Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame. And it's an injunction application basically seeking various reliefs, and that will be coming up on the screen quite shortly. We know that initially, okay, so it's on the screen right now, and it's asking for an order restraining any steps or actions from being taken as part of the process for the removal of the Chief Justice under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, or in any manner whatsoever until the final determination of the instant action. An order suspending the operation of the warrant for suspension of the Chief Justice purportedly issued by the President under Article 146(10) of the Constitution until the hearing and final determination of this action. Yes, we also have a statement that came out from the Ghana Bar Association as well. It's a statement that a lot of you have been looking at and trying to figure out what is the message that the Ghana Bar Association is putting across. The statement indicates that the entire matter is sub judice. It is the hope and belief of the GBA that the actors involved in the whole process would have the time-tested tenets of the rule of law as their guiding principles, and in its application follow the spirit of the law. The GBA also notes that the provisions of Article 146, 8, 9, and 10, which indicate that the sittings of the committee shall be held in camera, and the President, acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, may suspend the Chief Justice. GBA expects actors in the matter to act in a manner that safeguards and enhances the independence and image of the judiciary. The GBA shall carry out its mandate to defend, strengthen, and enhance confidence in the justice delivery system in Ghana. The GBA shall remain the conscience of society, the voice of the voiceless, and act to safeguard the rule of law and uphold the Constitution of the Republic, which embodies the wishes and aspirations of the people of Ghana. So I want to start with AB on this particular matter. How do you process first the statement from the Ghana Bar Association?
Well, let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. This is the most forward-looking statement coming from the Bar Association in a long while. In fact, in the last 20 years, if I must say. I've always criticized the GBA, even though I'm a member, for their approach in tackling national issues. And I've taken them to the cleanest when they seek to find their voices when NDC is in power. But when MPP is in power, they lose their voice. They suffer from kaka, what is called kaka.
What's the English name for kaka?
Kaka is kaka. So,
but people who have kaka talk still.
They talk, So they are,
the severe one.
So their case is then serious. Because if people have kaka and they talk, and GBA has kaka and is not talking, it means they could have spoken.
You mean they are talking but you don't like what they are saying?
When MPP is in power, they are stone deaf. They don't talk. They don't say anything. When NDC is in power, they find their voice. That's what I'm saying. Now, this particular statement is very neutral. And you see, when I am talking about the ills of some institutions, I'm not saying that the NDC should be favored. That's not what I'm saying. So, for instance, when the Chief Justice is removed, I'm not expecting that they will appoint a stooge to come and do NDC bidding. That's not what I'm looking for at all in this country. Put somebody there who will do the work for the people of this country. So, this statement by the Ghana Bar Association, for me, is forward-looking. It seeks to say that, look, the processes are ongoing. So far, no process is outside the Constitution. All processes are within the Constitution. And so, let's wait and see how it will end. And I think they have noticed that lawyers speak across purposes on this matter. You have lawyers who supported the removal of Loretta Lamte as Chiraj boss, today turning around to say what is happening is wrong. You have lawyers who, when they lose the argument, will now be talking about the spirit of the law. And you know, you are soon becoming a lawyer. When you see a lawyer getting out and talking, oh, the spirit of the Constitution, when the letter is there, you are not talking about the letter before going to the spirit, and your focus is the spirit of the Constitution, you don't have a case. Because it is the letters that we all see. I don't see spirits. I don't see spirits. So when you are in court and you are engaged in legal sophistry, you know, a sorcerer, and you are engaged in legal sophistry and groping in the dark just to touch something, and the judge will say, okay, I've given you are right, I give the verdict to you. That's not law. All what they are talking about, we are practicing what is called separation of powers. The executive has its constitutional responsibility, legislature has its constitutional responsibility, the executive has, the judiciary also has its constitutional responsibility. One cannot cross into the lane of the other to stop it from doing its work. Even though there's also what is called fusion of powers. But you first start from the separation of powers. Does the president have the power to suspend the Chief Justice if a prima facie evidence is established per the Constitution? You and me know that is yes. He's done it. And somebody has run to court. To do what? To stop the president from performing his constitutional duty?
I mean, the argument they make is that the matter was pending in court even before the prima facie determination was concluded. And as you, the lawyers, will say, sometimes the conduct that you've engaged in, you've basically rendered the action moot, if not giving the court an opportunity to speak on the matter.
Indeed, that earlier suit was also infringing upon the present constitutional right to perform his duty. That earlier suit was also saying that the president should not proceed to do the prima facie investigations. And yet, the Constitution allows it. The Constitution allows that. So if the Constitution allows something, on what basis would you run to court to say the court should stop the person from performing those constitutional duties? I just want to understand that. So, I think that the Chief Justice is being treated fairly. Indeed, the Constitution did not require that she be given the petition for her to, as it were, respond at the prima facie stage. The Constitution did not say that, but she was granted. We know that in previous actions, those who suffered from those actions were not given the petition. And I'm talking about Charlotte Osei. She had the benefit of getting it. She was given 10 days to respond. The next stage, we've gotten to the next stage, where the prima facie evidence has been established. And then the president has asked her to step aside. All these things are elaborated. Tell me, where in the Constitution does it say that the president cannot do what he has done?
I mean, but Abi, you agree that you could use the law to achieve various ends if you want to?
What does that mean?
I mean, it means that the point that people are making is that even before the party came into power, the party and its functionaries had publicly stated quite clearly that they were uncomfortable with how the judiciary were handling cases that had gone before the court. In fact, the current president did make the same point forcefully on a number of occasions.
Look.
And they make reference to the fact that it is in pursuance of that clear statement, that the statements that were made, that all these processes are being done in accordance with the Constitution that you make reference to.
Look, I can threaten you. I can say, I'll show you where power lies. I can say that if my mother comes, I won't give you food to eat. I can say all those things. But if the time comes and there's nothing I can stand on to do those things to you, what can I do? What can I do? So, the NDC may not like the Chief Justice, just like the Chief Justice didn't like the NDC, it doesn't matter. But if she wasn't engaged in those acts that are being complained today, there's a police officer who happened to be my junior when we were in Kevas, Akologo. Huh? I know him very well. We're in the same hall, Casford.
Fellow.
Yes. So he was being arrested in court by the orders of the Chief Justice. Now, when he then asked for the records of proceedings for that day, that aspect was taken off. He has also petitioned. Is that the making of the NDC? So, I think that if you are clean, you don't fear anything. So, are you saying that if the MPP were there and all this evidence were put before Akufo-Addo, he will be protected? Is that what we are saying? So,
we know for a fact that some of them, okay, we've not seen the petition yet, but we've heard suggestions that some of the matters were in the Professor Kweku Asare petition, and the president, quite interestingly, came to the conclusion with the Council of State that a prima facie determination has not been made.
So that shows you the criminal mind of that administration. Because if...
Alternatively, it shows the position they took on the matter contra to what the current government has taken as well.
That tells you that under that administration, rot was being covered. That's what it simply means. Because I believe that if a president appoints you to go there and work, and then matters of this nature come out, this rot comes out, you just tell the person, I didn't send you there to do those things. Can you step aside? So if we are being told today, and I heard Senior Sam Okujeto say what you are saying, and I cringe. I said, but you are a senior lawyer. You sometimes, when I appeal for the General Legal Counsel, he addresses me. I've been invited to the General Legal Counsel 3 times. Not because I did anything wrong in my practice, because of this talking for NDC. Because of this talking. Not that I took a client's money, I didn't go to court. But just this talking for, and then fighting corruption. You remember the 4 lawyers, myself, Raymond Atugba, David Annan, and the late Larry Bimi, sent to General Legal Counsel for saying that there's corruption in the judiciary. Not long after that, an analysis tip came and brushed all of them. So if they had taken our advice and began doing things to stop the rot, maybe analysis will not come. But when you go before the General Legal Counsel, Senior Sam Okujeto is there to address you and tell you how a lawyer should behave. So does it mean that when Akufo-Addo was present, all these things were before them? He as a member of the Council of State, and he who wrote the decision for President Akufo-Addo, is he saying that he saw all this, but yet gave the lady a clean bill of health? I don't think that if you are being appointed, you are being asked to go and do wrong things, and when you do the wrong things, you are being covered by the appointor. It's wrong. It's wrong. So, me, I just want a good judiciary. I want a judiciary that is up and doing. People are talking about interference by what the president is doing. The president is interfering and is beginning to chip away the democratic process. You heard all those things. But Akabile, don't we also need to protect the judiciary from internal interference? So if this Chief Justice, it is alleged, did what she did in the case of Akologo, that police officer, don't we need to purge her off the judicial process? Because much as you can get external interference, you can also get internal interference that brings the image of the judiciary into disrepute.
I'll come back to you, AB, but let me come to Ebo now. And Ebo, the point I was making to AB, and some will say that, look, is you have to blame the political parties, because if you pick the Charlotte Osei script, very similar narrative. The MPP, then in opposition, they were very uncomfortable with Charlotte Osei. They registered their displeasure constantly, made a point that they didn't think she was being a fair EC chairperson. The party comes into power, a petition is sent. In fact, we are told the initial petition even didn't disclose the names of people. They were allowed to remedy it. The petition subsequently went through and she was removed as well. They are drawing parallels and saying that it's the same script. If they want you out, they'll find something and they'll get you out.
Akabli, let me start off by saying that I have read what GBA put out there, what FIDA put out there, and I've also read what MPP also put out there. And let me ask you, have you heard about this proverbial bird called Anoma Kone Kone before? Have you heard something like that? Anoma Kone Kone?
Like he's behaving some way.
Okay, then that bird, let me tell you something about that bird. It's quite interesting. That bird always flies upstream.
To muddy the water.
It goes there to muddy the water. Then flies back downstream to ask who did it. That's the behavior of that bird. So in Fante, we say, Anoma Kone Kone, Oko insu netifi, na wako fun insu nenyua. Uwia na waba insu na nafu, na uwibi sede, wana na oye ofum insu nenyua. And that bird's behavior can be described as very hypocritical, very deceitful, very cunning, reckless, dishonest, irresponsible, and corrupt.
You have to show me the bird at this point. Who is the bird you're talking about?
I'm coming. I'm making my point. You see, if you consider the posturing of MPP in particular, relative to this matter, MPP has completely assumed the characteristics of the proverbial Anoma Kone Kone. I mean, since they lost power, check all the things they've done. Who destroyed Ghana's economy and made us international beggars and barbers? That we were giving all kinds of haircuts to people. Of course, MPP. Who are those complaining about the economy now? MPP. Who opened the floodgate of Galamsey for our water bodies and our forests to be destroyed? Of course, MPP. Who are those complaining about Galamsey today? MPP. Who left, as I said last week, left the corruption door ajar and looked away so that his family, friends, boys, looted this country as if there were no tomorrow. Of course, MPP. And who are those complaining about corruption? MPP. Who mistreated Madam Charlotte Osei unfairly, without any just cause. And who is now complaining that a better process is being used to handle the case of Chief Justice. It's the same MPP. So they fit the description and the characteristics of the proverbial bird called Anoma Kone Kone. Very hypocritical, very deceitful, very dishonest. In fact, I can go on and on and on. The point I'm making here is that, considering what the president has done so far, I read some small law, but I'm not a lawyer. But the major question, the most important question to ask in this issue is whether the president has done anything that doesn't fall within the remit of the law. Has he done anything contrary to what the law provides or stipulates? If the answer is yes, that the president will have to answer certain questions. But if the answer is no, why should this action be described as judicial coup d'etat? As you say, the Buga English people will say, the president was at his somewhere. And some people presented petition. that, Mr. President, this is the petition we have against the Chief Justice. The President, knowing his role as stipulated in the Constitution, follows the due process, gives the petition to the Council of State. Then the Chief Justice says, oh, I need a copy, or I need to have copies of the petitions against me. The President, in the spirit of the principle of natural justice and procedural fairness, says, you requested for 7 days. I will give you 10 days, to respond. You have responded. Based on your response, now they've come out to say that they find prima facie case for you to answer. What has the President done wrong? What has he done wrong in this matter? Can this be compared to what they did to Madam Charlotte Say? When it comes to the issue of rule of law, if there's any one particular political party that should never have the moral turpitude to be talking about, it's the MPP. Even internally, the way they handle their internal, I hear they are going to now amend their constitution. They don't respect the constitution. I don't know why they are even going to amend the constitution. Because in MPP, since Akufo-Addo took over, it's a rule of man, not rule of law. So what are they even going to do with the constitution? So they should keep quiet and allow the President to do what the law requires. If at the end of the day, the woman is able to defend herself, she will go scot-free. But if she has questions to answer and is not able to answer them, then the law must deal with her. No one is above the law. So for me, the President has done nothing wrong. He is performing his function in accordance with what the law stipulates. And for me, we should rather be excited that we have this kind of president who allow the law to work. I have said it. Any nation that has done well and is doing well is doing so on the back of two imperatives: quality leadership and good laws. The President is going by the law. He's showing leadership by making sure that whatever he's doing is within the confines of the law. And why should somebody have a problem with this? And you see, I don't like the way the Chief Justice or the suspended Chief Justice has allowed the MPP people to play political football with the issue. For me, it doesn't bode well for her integrity. Because if what I've heard, for example,
to be fair, we've not seen her, there hasn't been any direct comment, so to speak. What we've seen is a political party take up the matter and run with it on their own. I mean,
you see,
at least the publicly available information.
The fact that when she requested that the President give the copy, the copy of what the letter she wrote to the President was out there before it got to the President. Was it fair?
I mean, we don't know how that one went out. I mean,
per information I have, if I don't know, I stand to be corrected, that a known MPP radio station has started serializing the content of the petition and her response. How did they get it? Are you getting the point I'm making? So, for me, yes, whether we like it or not, she finds herself in a political landmine or minefield. And I don't think the way MPP is going about this issue, as if they are the champions of rule of law, defending this issue, it's as if this woman is our person. So let's go all out to defend her. It doesn't augur well, even for the woman herself.
I mean, final question to you, Bode. It's the same question I asked AB about how the NDC behaved towards the Chief Justice before they came to power, and what is happening to her now. I mean, are people at fault to want to connect the two?
Is there a cause?
I mean, we all agree that, I mean, like AB was making a point that if there's nothing, nothing will come up against you. But the question still remains that are people at fault if they want to connect the two incidents to say that is what is playing out?
You see, let me say this. Sometimes I say we like to pretend. In Ghana here, everything is politicized. Everything is politicized. Tell me what is not politicized in Ghana. So the Chief Justice also finds herself in a game called politics. Are you getting it? And the politicians have interest. So if at a point in time you are ostensibly doing things that are seen to be anti a particular party, of course they will say, they will speak about it. And that is exactly what happened. There are issues, I mean, I don't want to go into details, but there are issues that certain things the Chief Justice did that for me shouldn't have been done, the way she handled them. And the politicians will see this as a political move against them, and therefore they will speak it, they will speak out. And then that's what NDC did. And even if they are threatened and coming into office, there's no just cause for her removal, what can they do? But if there's a just cause, let's allow applies to its logical conclusion.
I mean, Prof, how do you process where we have come from, right from when the petition went through to where we are at this point, the suspension? I mean, first, let me even find out from you. Did the suspension come as a surprise to you?
No, not at all. It wasn't a surprise to me because I was expecting it. Lawyer AB has spoken, Ebo has spoken. You know, one thing I like about Ebo is his maverick way of speaking. And I had a good friend, Christian Checha, in Capos, when we were at the University of Cape.
She was my competitor.
I know. Ebo contested her and lost only by 16 votes or so.
Yeah.
That's what?
2004.
MP.
Primaries. MP.
So primaries.
I see.
Yeah, that's how I knew Ebo. And, you know, for him to speak like this means that, you know, people who...
The great woman.
Yes, Christy Chacha was a good friend. I wrote a book at UCC and I invited her and I was in trouble. The Vice Chancellor said, why did I invite the MP without telling them that she would be coming on campus? But because she was a friend, that's why she came. I have been mentored by people who don't look like me and who don't talk like me. And they have always asked me, you know, dare to be humble. So humility is key in leadership. I think President Mahama has shown leadership in this issue. And why do I say so? Because somebody asked you for 7 days to respond. She asked that, give me copies of the petition so that I can respond appropriately. The president gave her 10 days and everything, and then went through the law, the process. You talk about the process, because without a process, you can't have a product. So he did not act ultra vires, that is beyond the Constitution. He went through the process. Why do we make provisions in every Constitution? So that we can use it. And I think these things have come at the right time so that we can test the robustness of our Constitution, especially when we have Constitutional Review Commission headed by Professor Prempe, who is making sure that everything is streamlined. For 33 years, some of us have been calling about changing our Constitution. It is outdated, it is atrophy. Do you know that atrophy is an English word for watropy? Watropy, the English name is atrophy, and the Chi name is watropy. So our Constitution have been atrophy for the past 33 years. There are many clauses of that provision of the Constitution that needed to be tested, and this is the right time some of them are being tested. This is not a first time we've had even a president. So the Parliament can impeach a president, right? If the president goes beyond the law, ultra vires, even if mentally you are not capable, yes, you can be removed. Some provisions are made for occurrences when they occur. Nixon was impeached. We can remove the speaker if he goes beyond his powers. The same way we can remove the Chief Justice if she does something wrong. One of the examples that I saw from the petition, we all saw it. It was supposed to be private. I don't know why everything is being leaked out there.
I haven't seen it.
Yes, okay. One of those was somebody saying that she did private travel, went with the husband and the child, and then they were paid per diem. Meanwhile, it wasn't, you know, an official one. So you have an official travels and you have unofficial one. One you can go with a family member paid by the state. The others you have to pay from your pocket. And then she did the other way around. We know what happened to Hillary Clinton, you know, about classified information that she transferred into her private email, and that is what it resulted into. So I'm saying all these things to mean that
There's a new definition for democracy. Peter Tosh said that we are all crying for freedom, but nobody's crying for justice. We need justice. And I'm glad that the Ghana Bar Association is talking about rule of law. What is the meaning of rule of law? Equality before the law, right? So we are just trying to say that the Chief Justice, the President, the Speaker are all equal before the law. But they are three separated arms. And for the past years, we saw a lot of things that is going on that people said, no, this is not going on right. And cases have been cited about Charlotte Osei. So when MPP decided to remove Charlotte Osei, and she asked for a copy of the petition that wasn't given, she asked for this reply that wasn't given, and she was removed anyway, what were we thinking? That there will not be another government who will follow suit? Because our elders say that the one whose corn ripe first, so if you started this process and somebody is now singing the chorus and you are crying foul, that as if it has never happened before. We saw how Domelovo was dismissed. Now Domelovo is part of the committee that's supposed to determine the fate of the Chief Justice. You see how the world changes? So we have to be humble when we have political positions. And I think that this is also a litmus test for the Constitutional Review Committee, because they are seeing some of these things to fix some of the holes in our Constitution. I like what lawyers do. They go to court to argue their case with evidence to prove their client is innocent. That's what they do. So we have to poke through the middle to see, because the variances have become so much. You are like me, so you are part of me. You are not like me, so you are not part of me. That is how we are building our Constitution. It doesn't help us well. I want to end this way. Abraham Lincoln defined democracy as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But today I'm defining democracy as citizens caring for each other and taking care and responsibilities for themselves and others. So in democracy, we need to, as citizens, care for each other and then take responsibility for ourselves and others. Why do I say so? There are 4 things that we have to know about any democracy. The first one is good governance. When there's lack of good governance, that's where you see corruption. So good governance makes good leadership, and we need to watch that. The second one is moral product. You are living for the others. Morality is sinking here. People lie, people are late to work, people do a whole lot of things, arrogance, and so our morality is lacking. If we don't watch that one, we will suffer from our democracy. The third one is inclusive decisions. And inclusive decision is where you bring all stakeholders to make a decision. I've also received petitions about other people. There are things that I do most people don't know. And I can tell you that the way they write petitions sometimes it's wild. The person has rained terror on us, and we are afraid to go to work. People write petitions. So leaders, we have to look at that and then bring everybody stakeholder to be inclusive in the decision making. So that's the third one. The fourth one is that we need to elicit actions that enhance trust. And I think that what the president is doing is to enhance trust. Gone through the process, brought all the stakeholders. I'm glad that the GBA now is saying that let's follow the spirit. But my friend AB talked about the spirit and the letter. You see, I'm an author. I've written 9 leadership books. There's the spirit that comes to you that says that write this. But there's also the letter that you write that anybody can come and read. And sometimes I tell people that when you are using my book as a textbook, I'm the only one who can explain the spirit of it. If we concentrate too much on the spirit of the Constitution, what happened to the letter that everybody can read and understand? So I'm not surprised, because most people say, I went to the spiritual world. Most of the pastors say, I was in the spirit. I don't know how people get to the spirit and come back quickly. Abi, maybe you have an answer.
He doesn't like the spirit. He wants the text. He wants the text to
So the text is very important to us. And the text is that, did the president act ultra virus? No, he didn't. He acted within the law. Now let's go through the process. And I'm surprised at Vincent Esifua what he did. The person has been suspended, and you are writing an application for restraining the suspension. Only plan you are suspending every year. Also made the letter back to stop the suspension. How does that work? Explain to me.
But that guy always wants to be in the news. Have you noticed that? He always wants to be in the news.
The person is already suspended, and you are asking that an injunction is an application restraining the suspension. The person is suspended. How?
I mean,
you are a lawyer. How does that work? Tell me.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that.
But I mean, AB, I mean, those who agree with what he's asking the court to do, they will make reference to Article 2, which makes the point that The Supreme Court shall, so if you go to the subclause 2, the Supreme Court shall, for the purposes of a declaration under clause 1 of this article, make such orders and give such directions as it may consider appropriate for giving effect or enabling the effects to be given to the declaration so made. So the argument they make is that once you successfully convince the court that they should come to the conclusion that you are urging upon them, there is no limit to what the court can decide to do.
There's a limit. And I've said this before on this. The Supreme Court, and I want everybody to hear me, and the judges, they know it. The Supreme Court is not above the Constitution. The Supreme Court itself is regulated by the Constitution. So people think that you can go to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court will give a mutilated interpretation of the Constitution and then give you a verdict. You rethink. Because, in fact, the Supreme Court is created by the Constitution. Check your Constitution. There shall be a Supreme Court of Ghana. So they are also constrained by this. But you see, the MPPs, the reason why I dislike and detest the MPP's politics is this arrogance of we are more citizens than other people. Because when you look at their behavior in this matter, it is about we MPP, we are more Ghanaian, we are the first class people, the rest of you, second class people. When Akufo-Addo as your leader was engaging this same path, was treading on this same path, who spoke? In fact, when it came to Charlotte Osei, I was the only one, and you Google it, from the NDC who said that if they remove Charlotte Osei, Ghana will burn. But the entire NDC party was silent, looking at what the process would entail and allowing the process to rule. See how the MPPs is in 6s and 7s, running helter-skelter, just about the process going on. Why? What is the problem? So you ask the question, and I told you that if you have nothing to hide, all threats cannot do anything. I'm also going to ask you, but you don't answer questions here. It's a rhetorical question. Is it also the case that the MPP are afraid of the removal because when they remove her, they will now be exposed because she's there to protect their interests? So is it the case that now they are protecting her because they feel that the rot and the acts of corruption that they engage in, if they remove the woman, then their backs will be seen? Is that also the case? Because I've also heard that. I've heard that. So, if you are in a country, and he spoke about something, he spoke about leadership and something. Let me say something. This, our democracy, is a competitive one. No one political party can be in power for the next 20 years, as we have in other countries. So Zimbabwe, when you run elections, 95% for the... Even look at the worst performance of the MPP. NDC didn't get 95%. Are you understanding me?
Yeah.
So, if you are put in leadership, you should be nice towards all sectors and all the political divides, because you never know when the tables will turn. And I can assure you, this woman, when MPP were in power, had some resentment towards President Mahama. And I sat here and said it.
Yeah, I mean, the last time you said it, a very strange story.
Because I'm going on his tangent that as a leader, you should be seen to be nice. And you should be appealing. Look, you don't need to like the person. You can feign niceness. But this woman will frown her face. I don't know whether it was Akufo-Addo who was telling her that NDC will never come to power, or whoever was telling her. So, my advice to people who have been appointed is that be nice to people, but also be firm. I am of the view that what is happening now is a clear case of people who are dissatisfied with her performance. Have you heard that 2 more have come, even though
it's now 5.
We are now here and people are going to court, 2 more has come. So how many petitions does she want the president to receive before she says, I'm going? So what the MPP is doing, let's even assume that the court rules in their favor and ties the president's hand. Will she ever survive with the barrage of petitions coming? Can't she see that it is just coming wow like that?
Well, I want to pick your view on something that has also come up. We've seen a memo from the Deputy Judicial Secretary to the registrars of the High Courts, Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. And the subject is assignment of courts and fixing of the dates for newly filed cases and all newly filed applications. And it reads, I have been directed by the Acting Honorable Chief Justice to inform you that all newly filed cases and applications must be brought to his attention for assignment of the courts or empaneling of judges where there are more than 1 court and for the fixing of dates for hearing. It says, take note that this directive supersedes all previous directives until further notice. Please accept the compliments of the Acting Honorable Chief Justice. I mean, is this a necessary change? What do you make of it? Because I have heard from those who use the courts who say that, especially the High Court, there's currently an electronic system in place because it makes reference to where there are more than 1 court. So if you file a case at the High Court today, because there are multiple courts, the system electronically allocates it. But this time around, they are saying that it should be brought to the attention of the Honorable Chief Justice, the Acting Chief Justice, for him to assign.
We don't know what the Acting Chief Justice has noticed about the current system, because in the letter we have not been told that, but he just gave an order. So something must have gone wrong with the current system. For instance, when I took over in my office, the directors were given tea, and they will buy Milo, this. I told them that drink tea from your house before you come. So I've stopped that. You see, drink tea.
AB will always be AB.
I like that.
Drink tea from your house before you come. I told them. If they are listening, they know I've said it. You don't come and use the office money to be drinking tea.
What about if they want to drink coffee?
They should drink whatever it is, sobolo from their house before they come. You don't come and we'll use the office money and buy tea for you. So I don't know what the Chief Justice has seen anyway. He may want to correct a situation. And I think that we shouldn't read too much meanings into it. Because if a new person takes over an institution, particularly if that person also is from within the system, as you are here, you are also observing what things are not good. And so when you one day become, and I know one day you become, well, a nice guy, the head of this institution, you change things. So I don't think that we should read too much meaning. It happens everywhere. Where there's new leadership, there are changes. He may come back to this system, because this system was meant to ensure that people don't fix cases before judges of their choosing. But we don't know what he has seen. I'm sure when he fixes the problem, he will come back to it.
I mean, in wrapping up on this discussion, I mean, you agree with AB that we shouldn't read much into it, because once the letter went out, people are already making lots of connections, saying that, well, in fact, I saw a post by an individual who was suggesting that this was the reason why the whole thing was set in motion.
I say, if what the man is doing is going to lead to efficiency in the justice delivery system, I don't think we should have any problem with that. As for the politicians, they would put their political spin on some of these things. But let's wait and see what happens within our judicial system moving forward. Let me say this funny story. Earlier on, I had said something about the fact that the MPP doesn't have the moral right to be talking about the issue of rule of law. We're pontificating as though they are the champions of rule of law. Let me say something funny, because Prof brought up that issue. 2004, I had contested Honorable Christine Church. I had lost. In fact, I accept the fact that I lost, but I really didn't lose the election. But I accept the fact that I lost the election. So 2008, even Christine Church herself didn't contest again because she knew what happened in 2004. So I was the MPP youth organizer. People don't know. Okay. It was one constituency, not today MPP. And I was also the presiding member of the assembly. When they were going for the primaries, the only thing I committed was the fact that I supported Alan Chamartin in 2007 in Legon. When he lost, I became a victim. 14 of us became victims. Youth organizer, presiding member. I had contested 4 years earlier. Then, all of a sudden, I heard the rumors that I was going to be suspended. I said, for what reason? They invited me to Accra. I met a panel. What is happening? Then finally, Friday evening, I had an announcement on the radio that Cape Coast primaries will be done Sunday morning. Friday evening, the announcement was made.
You had been invited to Accra?
Yes. Sunday morning, they had a primaries. My name was not part. Because according to Mr. McMenu, the president didn't want to see me. Then the candidate, Nanado, didn't want to see me. I don't want to go into details. I'm telling you how lawless that party is. Until MPP becomes born again, they should remain where they are. There are some good guys in the party. Let me be honest and say, they are good guys. I have some nice friends. Nice guys. I mean, the Patrick Boames, the Chasoredus, the Abnoses. I mean, some nice people in the party. But I'm telling you, those who are in the helm of affairs of the party now, very lawless people, very hypocritical. If they don't change their deeds and become born again, as Jesus said in John 3:3, he said, unless a man is born again, he will never see the kingdom of God. Unless they become born again, they should stay wherever they are. And they should keep quiet on this issue and allow the law to take its course. And for me, that is what they are supposed to do. If, the last time, you look at the 100 days of President Mahama in office, I think we also need to look at 100 days of MPP in opposition. Or 120, of course. And the things they have done, the things they have said.
What would that be of benefit to us?
because they are opposition. Opposition is also important.
We need a vibrant.
Yeah, it's also important. So that we can also examine whether they are being good opposition or they are being bad opposition. And for me, that is quite important. So if they hear me, all the story I told you about, Afenyo Makin is aware about how I was treated. Because that time, we were moving together. He's aware. Very lawless. Because a man took over the party from 2007 and turned the party, a very fantastic party like MPP, into a lawless party. He became the demigod of the party. Now he's no more. See the problem he's left the party now? The confusion in the party between even all those contesting. They should be born again.
You see?
They should be born again.
You see, until Akufo-Addo became president, God had a way of dealing with our democracy, and God dealt with it very well. Through no rules and regulations, it's like MPP were in charge of appointing the Chief Justice, and NDC was in charge of appointing EC Commissioner. That's how it was. Yeah. God is wisdom, just ensure that when there's a vacancy, it will fall under the MPP if it's in the judiciary. Then God If there's a vacancy for the EC, it will fall under the NDC.
Now you believe the spirit.
No, that's not that spirit.
So you are saying that once that was interfered with.
Ever since it was interfered with, this is the outcome. This is the outcome. The other side will want to retaliate.
Okay.
And it is going to be so until sanity prevails.
Okay. I mean, Prof, final word on this.
Yes, my final word is that the Chief Justice is for every Ghanaian. And that is why we need them to be neutral. Moving forward with our constitutional review, I expect the new Chief Justice, or whether we retain Tokunu, to be neutral in their pronouncements, because that is what we expect from the Chief Justice. I think that President Mahama has been like a river. You know, rivers don't argue with the rocks. They flow around them. And that is exactly what he's trying to do. But it's also interesting how some people need no proof to believe a lie, but demand endless proof to accept the truth. We have the truth, and it shouldn't be your truth or my truth when it comes to the Constitution. It should be what the spirit and the letter says of the Constitution. So when we say that the Judicial Ghana Bar Association is calling for independence and confidence of the judiciary, we all sing in that chorus that we need the judiciary to be independent, and then we need them to be confident. But in doing so, they should not be perceived to be tilted against one political party or the other, or leaking information from one political party to the other. I saw the complaint from the current president about even the Chief Justice sending information to the public domain and social media before even the president received copy of it. And I think moving forward, such a thing should never happen.
All right. I mean, that is it by way of the discussion on the first issue. We'll see how all of this pans out. Don't forget that the case is in court on the 6th of May. In between that, any major development in relation to that comes up, we'll bring your attention to. But our second topic for today is to look at the issues surrounding the Narcotic Control Commission. And the latest is that officials of NACOC on Wednesday intercepted a cargo being packaged for shipping at the Swiss port containing concealed substances suspected to be cocaine destined for Netherlands. We are told that a total of 73 slabs with a weight of 89.74 kilograms were seized, and 4 suspects have been picked up and are currently in custody at NACOC while investigations continue. And joining us for this particular part of the conversation is Richard Kumado. He's a security consultant. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Kumado, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to start off with the earlier point that I had made about the fact that it appears, and if you could kindly unmute for me, it appears in the last couple of months there's been various busts that have been done by the security operatives, and because of your expertise, I'll leave you to do the judgment, but there are those who are asking 2 questions. Is it the case that all of a sudden there's an attempt to traffic drugs either out of the country or into the country, or is the case that the security operatives this time around have upped their game, and that is how come they are detecting some of these matters?
So there are 3 things involved. The first one could be what you are saying, that for some time now, Ghana has been ranked as not just a transit point for narcotic drugs and many of the criminal activities we might want to talk about, but we have also become an origin and a destination for many of these drugs and some criminal activities. You know, drugs usually will go with money laundering. You are talking about galamsey, where there's a lot of movement of arms, and you are also talking about trafficking of human beings in that regard. The second point is that because of that tendency, what happens with security agencies within specific period of time are things that we call the dominant force. And so while there's a dominant force and there's a national security interest realignment with a focus of preventing fraud, then you put in a leadership strategy that ensures that investigations will be increased, surveillance will be increased, and monitoring will be increased. And what that does is that it gives them the edge to be able to arrest many more criminals. With regards to crimes and with regards to drugs in that regard, I am fully aware that in recent times, there has been an enhanced search procedure at Kotoka International Airport for that matter. And even before this particular one was busted, there have been some level of arrest and some level of search and seizure that went around Kotoka. But these are investigative bodies, and they wouldn't want to speak to that effect. what I also want to say, which is giving them the new energy, is that they are working together more now as interagency organizations. And when you do that, it gives you some level of leverage because you have all manner of expertise at your disposal, and it makes the work very easy for them. We can commend them whilst we are saying that they are also aware that search and seizure and confiscation is great, investigation is also great. But however, what is more important that will create the necessary deterrence is when the criminals are prosecuted and the proceeds from the crimes are frozen, or the properties they earn out of these particular crimes are confiscated by the state. Other than that, they come back, they regroup themselves, and the nature of these crimes is that it's a cross-border crime and it's a well-organized crime. So if we don't prosecute them, and if we don't confiscate the proceeds from crime, we might be doing well, but we may not be as effective of creating deterrence for that matter. So I only urge my colleagues in the security agencies to speed up with the investigations and make sure that those who are engaged in these high-level crime networks are brought to justice.
And talking about speeding up investigation, I mean, I believe you would agree with the view that the focus should also be on where the drugs coming from. I mean, there are some who also think that maybe the arrest was too early, especially because the drugs were heading out of the shores. I mean, potentially there are other collaborators who we may have been able to apprehend, or you still think that, I mean, this is the step in the right direction? So
the security agencies have two options. Because of the layers of the security arrangement at Kotoka and almost all the points of entry, you know, when you take Kotoka, for instance, you have the BNI or the NIB there, you have some men from the National Security Secretariat, you have customs, you have immigration, you have aviation security, and there are various layers doing different things at the same time. They might even be collaborating, but to some agencies, this may be a tip-off, and to some agencies, it might be a surprise search, and to some agencies, it might be, a random search. But for some agencies, like the NIB or the BNI, it might be an intelligence they have worked on for a year or 3 weeks or 3 months or 6 months or something. And in making those determinations, it goes back to where the kingpins are. They might have decided to give a tip-off to the final destination of these drugs, and they could be picked up there. But to the extent that it was picked up here in connection with some other ones they have done in recent weeks, it means that the dominant force that led to this particular arrest is that the kingpins or much of the people or many of the people involved might be in close proximity, or there might be people who are within, and once they pick up those ones are the high-risk flag ones, it helps them in the investigation. So whichever option they have, they decided to go for them and pick it up. And I think there will be a good reason for doing that. So let's allow them to proceed with the next phase of the investigation. So once the dots are connected, we might be singing. And people are saying that they should have allowed it. It's not recent weeks, we were all in arms against one another, saying that Kotoka has become vulnerable and drugs are passing through. And so they have done a good thing. Let's commend them, saying that they've done a good thing, whilst we are also asking that, hey, come on, speed up with the investigations, prosecute the criminal, and make sure you confiscate the crime process. And that is the way to go.
Let me come into the studio and bring AB and Ebo into the conversation. I mean, AB, what do you make of what we are seeing happen in the last couple of months?
I think there are two schools of thought, but I want to stay on the positive side. The positive side is that we are seeing our state security agents fighting the...
And maybe just before you continue, just a quick indication, the Prof has had to leave us. He has another engagement, so that is how come we are now just three around the table. Maybe you can go on, sorry.
So clearly you can see the state agencies fighting the canker of drug trafficking. And I agree with him that the issue is no longer that we are at transit points. I think we are also a user now. You see the boys who are doing the right and they take those things as well. So with this fight, it gives us some leverage that we are beginning to show that we are ready to fight the menace. The flip side of it is that, is it only now that our country is being used as a transit point? The answer we know is no. Ghana was already a transit point long time ago. So why were we not making these arrests under the previous administration? Your guess could be good as mine. So what I want us to do is to commend the security agencies for bastardizing these drug peddlers and those who carry these drugs, and encourage them to do more. By so doing, the chances are that our country, the incidence of drug abuse and the incidence of the fact that our country is being used as a transit would minimize. That must, and this must also give us some new leverage in the international community that we should be singled out and be given praise. Because in the last 3 months, the kinds of arrests that has been made in the whole of the last 8 years, we've not seen that. And I think that it's a clear indication of the preparedness of a government that wants to fight the canker.
I mean, we share the same concerns about the fact that we need to commend the state security agencies for what they are doing in the last couple of months.
Yes, I believe so, so that they can do more. And let me say that I've always enjoyed Mr. Kumado's submissions. His in-depth knowledge about issue of security is quite, interesting. I've always been following his submissions, and this morning he's done it once again. I believe that, and it is good we had a change of government for a number of reasons, and one of the reasons is what we are seeing now. We just want them to sustain this kind of operations and not to give us a 9-day wonder. Because if you look at the effect this is having on us as a people, I mean, the youth, now they do combination of all manner of drugs. Let's not focus on only cocaine and leave the rest, because the rest are as dangerous as the cocaine. Or some of them are even more dangerous than the cocaine. And so we should look at, it's only when, it's like as if it's only when a cocaine is busted that we make a lot of noise about it. But the other ones, which are even more dangerous than cocaine too, when we bust such people, or when we intercept those dangerous drugs, we should let Ghanaians know what we are doing. I believe that the security agencies, they deserve commendation. I mean, for what they've done within the last 3 months or 4 months, for me, is commendable. Let's encourage them to do more. Let's, as much as possible, take politics out of the drug issue, because when it's knocking at your door, it doesn't ask the political colors of the house before it enters. And so we should be able to, as much as possible, take politics out of it and fight it. It doesn't matter which political party you belong to. If you are found to be engaged, to be engaging in illicit this kind of business, it should be dealt with according to the law. And as I agree with Mr. Kumado, it's not just about arresting them. A lecturer who taught us, I think he used to work with Scotland Yard in the UK, and he told us a story. He said normally what they do is that when they see that the quantity you are smuggling or you are traveling with is not going to harm the people, the effect is not going to be that much, they don't arrest you. They allow you to go through so that they can follow you to your destination, to know where exactly you are taking those drugs to. Then when you are coming back, they will follow you to the source. So before you get arrested, they would have done all their checks, they would have known all the syndicates, so that they don't arrest only just one person.
Yeah.
They arrest those at the source and those at your destination. So we should encourage them to be doing more of such arrests. But as I said, let's take politics out of it.
Mr. Kumado, in wrapping up the conversation with you, I think my two guests here in the studio, they make the point about local usage. What we've seen over the period is that a lot of the busts that have been done, they are mainly large quantities that are being shipped out of the country, or they are being moved to a certain destination. It appears the local trade itself, either we are not paying attention to it or it's flying under the radar.
No, we do. The law enforcement agencies are always at the back of those who commit crimes. With my latest book coming out, we talk about criminal behavior and corporate crime and investigations, where you have a lot of these drug investigation cases. And some of the case studies that it takes a long time because of the nature of the sophistication of drug dealers and arms dealers and money laundering people and many of the things they want to do. Once investigations drag on for some time, it means that NACOC may not have the leverage or the opportunity to bring down many of the confiscations. And if you are not careful and there's a switch, you don't have control over what happens, and some could slip through. Or where you do not have certain, I spoke to you and I talked about leadership drive. Leadership drive says that you have task people who have worked with the BNI for many years. This is my brother, who is now the Director General of the BNI. Then you have Berryman Tum, who has been a police officer, a lawyer, a politician now at NACOC. Then you have Basitelli with the immigration, who have worked with Mr. Sapo and Mr. Prifa and co for a very long time, Madam Dokoto and co, Auntie Baba and co, now being heading the immigration service. Then you have so many other people who have worked within the system and have been given the opportunity to help some of these institutions. Once they begin to work in that collaborative manner, they follow up not just at the top with these big ones, but they go deep down to find out where are we looking and who has been the main man or the chain within what goes on at the top and what goes on at the down. But I can agree with you that we need to do more and clean up the system, where we can have a system where when you deal in such nature of crime, you are prosecuted. If you leave them, then they may have their boys moving around with the small ones while they are watching to see which government is in power, or which security agencies have become porous, or which security agency head can be bribed or corrupted, so they could push it through. But I agree with you that holistically we need to do that. My only concern, let's raise the bar a little bit. We look within the West Africa zone, where you have military takeovers and coup d'etats and arms smuggling and many of those ones. And national security threat can be affected by empowering people who deal in drugs. So therefore, arresting them and prosecuting them and confiscating their assets will serve as a deterrent, not just in Ghana, but within the West Africa zone. And that may help to stabilize our governments and lead to development of our country. So that is the way we need to go.
Many thanks, Richard Kumado, security analyst, for joining this aspect of the conversation on this very important matter. Let's see how it goes by way of the investigations that is being conducted by the various security agencies. Some messages that have come so far. I want to start first with the earlier discussion on the issues surrounding the removal or the petition seeking the removal of the Chief Justice. And Kwablavi of Pokwase, Benghazi says, now MPP members say President John Mahama is witch hunting them because he has suspended the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokonu. Have they forgotten that President Akufo-Addo also did same to Charlotte Osei when she was chairperson of the Electoral Commission? MPP shouldn't cry over it because it is normal. Next time, they shouldn't, I said next time, they shouldn't cry. They shouldn't set a bad precedent, he adds there. And more comments here. He says, good morning to the host and the panel. I'm enjoying the discussion. It says that there are lots of people that do support the suspension of the CJ, while few people are politicizing it. Ghanaians are fully aware. And that is another message that has come in. And that is coming from New Tonkin on our social media platform as well. And so that is it by way of our discussion this morning. My guests have been Abraham Amaleba, legal practitioner, Director General Road Safety Authority, also a member of the NDC. Ebo Bachman is a financial and economic analyst, also with the Movement of Change, a senior communicator with the Movement of Change. Professor Enoch Upokwentri, a governance and policy analyst, also joined us earlier. And just like you heard a short while ago, security analyst Richard Kumado joined us as well. By way of birthday wishes, another one has come in here. Wilhelmina Menzo. She was my mate from high school as well. And happy birthday to you. Do enjoy your day. And belated happy birthday to Nyansa.
Yeah, Nyansa,
Nyansa Bachman.
Yeah, Nyansa.
I like the name.
Nana Kojo Amonu Nyansenyi Bachman.
Why?
That is the name.
Is there those names? Are they not overweighing him?
No. He's enjoying them.
I wonder how you fit all of that on it.
Yeah. That's the name he has on the birth certificate and the Ghana card.
I see. Yeah. We'll see about that. That is it by way of our discussion. Stay tuned in. The show continues. I am Joseph Akable.
A disco boy. He's a disco boy.